Hello there. Welcome to the HR Approved podcast. Today we're talking to someone who runs a company that is definitely not HR approved. No HR department would approve of this tool, but we're talking to the CEO of LockedIn AI, the interview AI assistant. We're going to be chatting with Caesar here. Let's visit his LinkedIn. So here it is. Caesar is a little bit in incognito mode on LinkedIn with no profile photo, but maybe we'll convince him to add one. Kagehiro Mitsuyami. His nickname is Caesar. Friends call him Caesar, so that's what we're calling him. He's in Brooklyn. He has a master's degree in computer science, spent 5 months at Tesla as an industrial engineer. Then he actually co-founded Final Round AI. This was the initial platform for AI assistants. He spun off and started his own competing platform, LockedIn AI, cheaper, arguably better, with some neat new features. He's an interesting guy and can't wait to chat with him. Let's dive in. Before we dive in, I just have to admit that I messed up and my audio was misconfigured in Riverside. I don't even know what device was picking up my audio. Definitely wasn't this mic, but hopefully the magic audio tool within Riverside will help me out and clean it up a bit. But yeah, sorry if I sound crappy. He sounds fine. I sound terrible. But yeah, better next time.
Well, all right. Welcome to the podcast. Caesar, how are you?
I'm pretty good. I'm doing well, and thanks for letting me to join this podcast. You know what? It's actually my first official podcast.
All right. I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah. Thanks for trusting HR Approved Podcast as your first one. I think it's going to be the first of many for you, hopefully.
Absolutely. I'm pretty sure you have done this for a long time, right?
Not a long time, maybe 9 months, 10 months. I've got like 20 something podcasts. I'm not a straight rookie anymore. I'm, mid-level maybe. They say most people stop even before they get to their 8th episode. They give up. So I'm past that at least.
Yeah. I mean, your whole setup is like pretty professional, and this
Well,
Riverside is actually my first time seeing the software.
Riverside is very popular. Yeah, highly recommended. I tried a couple others before landing on Riverside, and I'm going to stick with this. This is the best one, in my opinion. But just some backstory, man, on how we got connected. I first discovered your product, Locked In. It was a reel on TikTok, came into my feed. And I was like, ooh, look at this. This is dirty. This is so dirty. I was like, man, this is like almost cheating. It's like, I can't believe this exists. But then, over time, I've kind of warmed up to the idea, especially since companies, they make it so hard to get hired, so hard to clear interviews. And the job market is so rough out there for the past few years that just kind of warmed up to the idea. And, at the same time, it won't be long before we all have our own personal AI agents anyway. So why not, right? I mean, everybody's going to be augmented with some type of AI tool in their job. So why not use it in the interviews, right?
Yeah. That's why my original thoughts as well. So initially when I started this, that's when the job market was crashing, at the end of the 2022, right? And then company is laying off of tons of people. So you have a huge influx of the software engineers or just people in general, because they are not just laying off the software engineers. They're also laying off the marketing, the sales, and the product managers. It's like, so basically the whole company is being laid off. For example, like X, they laid off like 70% of the people.
Oh, yeah.
Still functional, which means that, a lot of people were paying so well and doing not much work at that companies.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Right.
I saw that. When Elon Musk walks into Twitter with the kitchen sink, he's like,
yeah,
about to throw everybody out. Yeah. So, hey, are you using Locked In AI right now for this podcast?
Currently, I'm not.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I was like, man, I wonder.
Well, I would say the LockedIn AI is mostly for the situation that you're not prepared for, or you have a very short period of time that you want to absorb all the knowledge into your brain, but you can't, right? Because there's a limit and there's a capacity of how each people's brain is like functions. Somebody just can't absorb the information just right away, but you want him to prepare all the questions in like one sittings, like 1-2 nights. He cannot, right? That's why even the president of the United States, they need a teleprompter.
They do.
Right? Because there's no way. For example, I'm not bashing on the previous president, right? Biden. I don't think he can remember all the stuff at that age, like for the whole paragraph, the talking in 10 minutes.
He
That's a
can't
little bit hard.
remember one sentence, dude. So it's a very good use case for Biden. But I was excited to talk to you and dive into this. Can you just tell us a little bit about your background? Like, what's your story?
Yeah, so I'm actually an international student before I came to the United States. So I started my journey at Purdue University. That's in Indiana. I was an industrial engineer, but back then I have no idea what I'm doing. My friend told me, hey, there's industrial engineer. If you don't know what you do, you just choose industrial engineer because you're going to learn every aspect of the engineering there. And later in your master, something like that, you can choose what you actually want to do, right? So after that, I graduated. I moved to LA, stayed there for 2 years. That's where I figured out, okay, I want to learn some computer science. Now I'm in New York. So I moved to New York for New York universities and choose computer science, choose a bunch of courses in like machine learning, AIs. And after I graduated, that's also the time while I was looking for jobs. It was at the end of the 2022. At first, I was looking for jobs, but later I find out, why not just use AI to help me to get through some of the tasks, right? That's the moment I figured out, okay, there's got to be a lot of people needing this right now. Why not just make it a software? So it's a gradual process of how I achieve and how I decided what I'm gonna make today. So it's not like I'm already at work and I'm somebody who is find some like side hustles. That's my actual process, because my process, I've been through the job search. I've been through basically every aspect in the job search, like networking, job search, applying, and interviews. So all the aspects I've been through, that's why I decided, okay, there's a lot of people that in need for this kind of tools. Why not just make one?
Definitely a big demand for it.
For LockedIn AI, we started last year in June. Before that, I have another company. That one, I have some issue with co-founders. We split up. Later, that I started with the LockedIn AI. A lot of demographic is from the US. There's also a lot of demographic from Europe. I would say 5% to 10% users from Europe. 30% is actually from India, Bangladesh, even Philippines, like Vietnam, those Asian countries. But there's not that much Chinese users. I don't know if it's because, I feel like it's because probably the VPNs.
Oh, could be. Yeah, it's a little more restricted over there, right?
The Great Wall Firewall.
Yeah. So it's funny you mentioned starting a company before this, because I visited the website, right? And I just Googled LockedIn AI. And the first result was like final round. And I'm like, ooh, this seems like it's some stiff competition here. But then I visited your LinkedIn. I was like, he actually worked there. There must be like a really juicy story behind that period of time.
Yeah.
And you know, what made you decide to part ways? Can you tell us about that?
Well, there's something I can say, but something I cannot say. Well, but I will say the general story. So I talk about, I actually started this interview software since 2022 in June. I found my co-founders during that time. I bring them on board, and later there was a dispute because like the profit share, the share structure. That's what happened to most of the startups anyway. If you initially agree something, but you didn't sign it, right, that will cause the issues down the line. So it just later, there's a lot of like ownership, you know, who the companies belong to legally. And that was causing a lot of dispute between us. So 3 co-founders left. Initially, it was 5 co-founders. There only have 2 co-founders left. And I decided it was not an honest way of what they're doing. It feels kind of like you're getting backstabbed by your friends. So because I met them since middle school and at universities. And I thought they were like good friends. It was the pricing as well. So the pricing they have was $149 per month. I mean, for most people who are looking for jobs, how are they going to have that kind of money? Granted, there's kind of somebody who have a job, but they want to switch job. Those people will have a lot more rooms to spend. But for most job seekers, I don't believe that this is the right way to charge that much amount. And you cannot guarantee the success, right? Because nothing can guarantee you the success. You can just increase the chance of their getting the job, but you cannot guarantee. Unless you can guarantee something that you can get them the job, yes, you can charge like way higher amount, like 500, 1,000.
Yeah, very true. Well, it's nice of you to think that way because you're right. If you're in dire need of a job, you probably don't have a ton of resources to invest. Like you need money, right? You don't have a lot of
Yes,
money. You
exactly.
need a job. So yeah, and if you can build a product and still make it profitable, like if you're making plenty of money from a lower subscription fee, just whatever you think is fair. There is this demand supply curve. So if the demand is very high, if you can charge more, a lot of people will just go ahead and charge the most they possibly can. So bless your heart for trying to find something more of a middle ground for people. Make note of that, folks, when you choose a platform. So you told us about what sparked the idea. So that was cool. You were actually thinking of a tool that you needed for yourself and thought,
Yes.
hey, this is an idea for a startup. So that's awesome. How do you help people kind of get around some of the apprehensions they may have about using the tool? There may be some ethical concerns. They may feel like they're cheating. Like, how do you get people around those thoughts?
That was my original thoughts as well, because I'm a great example of once you start using the AI tools in most aspect of your life, especially for technical type of role. If you are a hairdresser, I don't think you can use AI to help you that much. Or you are working at a construction site, there's nothing AI can help you. But if you're in a technical role, you can use AI to quickly learn almost anything. If it's not like very big scope, you can quickly learn anything in 1 week. I'm not even exaggerating because myself is a great example. I learned a lot of things through AI, and also you have to fact check yourself, right? Because you cannot 100% rely on AI. Sometimes they do things wrong. You have to fact check yourself and compare that result. That's how you learn it quickly in a week. Like compared to the traditional roles, let's say you are a student. Typically, one semester you have one courses, right? But with AI right now, all the information that you actually learn during that school time, you can shrink the time into just 1 week. You can absolutely do it if you're putting the time. I'm not talking about every day putting to 2 hours, 3 hours. I'm talking about every day putting like 6 hours, 8 hours. You can definitely done all that in a week. So back to your question, right? Is it ethical or not? Let's say everybody have the same AI tools. Then everybody will have the same access to all this knowledge, but still everybody will have the different ability to perform at works because how they use the AI tools, right? Because everybody just has different IQs.
Right. Yeah, yours is probably much higher than mine.
Now, I feel like I was pretty dumb.
Well, you
Not
got a
doing much.
master's. You got a master's in computer science, so you got to be like really smart to get that. So I've even tinkered around with some of the coding platforms they have now, like Google AI Studio, Replit. Even dumb people like me can code now, so it's like really helping us out.
That's the future. That's the future. I definitely feel like coding language is more logical language, but it's actually the dumber language compared to our human natural language. Code is just another language to tell the machine to do something. But back then, I mean, even as now, the machine is still pretty dumb. So that's why you need very, very clear instructions. That's what the code does. You need very, very clear instruction, very, very clear logic, so the machine knows exactly what to do. But over the time, they're talking about putting the operating system as an AI. So your whole operating system will be an AI. Your natural language will be the input of the instruction of your machines.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So prompting is going to be the
Yeah, it
biggest
will be the
thing.
next big things.
So this will definitely come in handy, especially for like technical interviews, like you say, because I feel like the expectations are always way too high and just unreasonable, especially when it comes to technical interviews for software engineers, these live coding exercises where you're expected to have every piece of code that they could throw at you memorized and without looking anything up. That's not reasonable because any developer, they Google things, they use, AI now.
Exactly.
So all these tools are available, but in an interview, you expect people to remember everything off the top of their head. And it doesn't make any sense. And then another thing, the stats are that 80% of your job success is depending on soft skills and attitude. And only 20% is dependent on knowledge of a technology or a tool. Where there are gaps, most people can learn new tools pretty quickly, right? Especially people who are really
Exactly.
talented engineers. I mean, you can learn a new tool during the onboarding process, right? Waiting for your background check to clear. Boom, you could learn whatever new tool, but companies are unwilling to take a risk and they don't want to do any training. They want people to know their full tech stack on day one, ready to go on day one. So I would recommend taking advantage of an AI tool, to help you through the technical interview, because it's just the stuff that you would look up if you could.
Exactly. And most of the stuff actually, because since you are talking about the technical interview, especially the coding interview, right? Most of the stuff they test you are not going to be all used on the job. So you're learning a bunch of algorithm, data structure, manipulation, like 2-pointers, binary trees. Most of the stuff you're probably not going to see that ever in your life, like when you're doing the actual coding at the job. When company hire you, they want you to implement something, and this functionality is working. That's it. There's no bug. There's some type of jobs that like prioritize optimization, but that's not a huge amount of jobs. So what they're doing is the same thing. They are testing on the students. They are testing the students to remember things. They are testing the code interviews. If you remember all these data structures. And as you said, if you're good engineers, you can grab something from online. If you forgot something, you just grab something online, right? So why not they change this whole process of testing people, especially when the AI tools comes out? Back in the day, I feel like it makes sense when the AI tools is not around. But now when you have AI tools that can remember trillion times more information than you. So as a human, you are good at creative thinking and also proactively doing something. Right now, that's what AI lacking of, right? AI is lacking of proactively doing something. You have to tell it to do something, then it helps you. So they need to change the whole way of interviewing the process. So for us, when we are hiring the people, let's say the software engineers, we actually give them a live task. We tell them that you can use any AI tool. And we actually want you to use any AI tools, but you just complete this task, right? See how fast you can complete this task. And then the task will be something actually irrelevant on their resume. So some information they have not learned on their resumes, but we give you a time frame and we see you how well you can done this task within like 20 minutes or 30 minutes. I think that's probably the new ways that people needs to start to figure out how to implement in their recruiting strategies.
Yeah, I do hear the whole leak code type interview testing is kind of going away. So yeah, we'll see where it goes, man. It's going to be an interesting year for sure. Thinking back to when you were actually developing the platform, I guess, what were some of the biggest technical challenges that you faced during the initial development and launch of the product?
In terms of technical challenge, I would say it's probably audio input and audio output. Capturing the audios and making sure the user feel the seamless experience. That's actually the hardest part. The hardest part is not the code. The hardest part is making sure that users don't feel disorientated when they are trying to capture the audios. Because audio is one of the things that a lot of meeting softwares, I mean, before we jump in this podcast, right, I'm trying to figure out the audios here and there,
right,
and then the cameras. So that's like one of the hardest parts. So the hardest part is not implementing the AI, because a lot of places they have well documented the AIs. You can easily integrate it into your software.
Yeah, but for the average user, I bet they're worried, like, how am I going to get this thing to work? I got this Teams window up or Zoom window up, oh man, it's not working. And now what do I do? So I was like wondering what the best way to use it. I know that you guys have, a desktop app. It's like a website, but then I saw that you've made it into a mobile friendly version as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then on one of your most recent videos, I saw that the hiring manager sternly demanded that you share your screen with them. I guess because they're trying to protect themselves against like an AI assistant, right?
Jump into the next questions. I would like you to share with me your screen immediately. Now.
Sure. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Luckily, you just had LockedIn up on your phone, right below the camera, right? So I guess that's how you do it, right? You pull it up from your phone.
So tell me, how do you handle the conflict within your team?
Awesome. That's a great question, right? So to handle conflict within the team effectively, first, I would love to encourage open communication within the team.
So it's independent from the computer, right? And then as the hiring manager is asking a question, you hold down the listen button, right, on your phone. And then when they're done asking the question, I always see you buy time by saying, oh, that's a great question. Let me think about that for a second. And the AI is kind of working in the background, producing this answer. And then then you go about trying to find best way to use some of the words. You're not reading it word for word. You're just taking kind of the outline of what the AI is giving you and using it in your answer.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we're trying to also improve as well, is for some of the users, they prefer just talk about it line by line. In my opinion, it's very obvious if you just are reading something without understanding it. So even the AI give you the answers, I want them to actually you just pick out the key points, right? Because all you need is you just pick out the key information and then you organize it yourself. Talk about it in your own way. Otherwise, you are doing the same thing as everybody,
right?
Because this trend is not going to stop, right? This trend is going to keep going forever, and more people will adopt using the AI tools during the interviews. So if you want to really stand out, that you have to reorganize the thoughts that the AI give you the answers.
Exactly. Yeah. You can't just be robotic and read it word for word. But, maybe that's something that you can train the AI on as you improve the product to where it's not spitting out so much text, where it's just giving you just some bullet points and not even multiple line bullet points, just find a way to squeeze this little phrase into your answer. You know what I mean? So that'll take
that's
some
a good
honing.
idea.
Yeah.
Right now we have the concise options, which will only spit out for example, 3 to 5 sentences at most.
Okay.
So the most concise version, that one is more suitable for quick question and answering type of interviews. So for example, if they ask you some technical questions, one sentence, and you need answers right away, that one is more suitable for that. So the longer version, that is a little bit different. So if you have a more complicated question and you want more in-depth results, definitely recommend to use default or details. And you were talking about a good point, because the interviewer is asking about share screen. So right now we're actually working on the desktop app.
Okay.
The desktop app will completely hide everything. If you share your screen, it will still run in your computers, but nothing will be shown.
Oh, sneaky. I like it.
Nothing will be shown from the other side. Not even the taskbar. There's no icon. When you switch the tab, there's nothing on the tab as well.
Oh, wow. I bet that was a unique problem to try to solve. So you basically just make it invisible.
Yeah, basically making it visible.
Oh, nice. All right. I mean, you're making it dummy proof here, man. So yeah, I guess
that's the user experience, because even we have a lot of instructions right now. I feel like we have implemented a lot of instructions here and there, because we're in the consumer space. We're not like a B2B. So if you are to think about yourself as the person who have never experienced this kind of products before, we try to go from that kind of route. They have for example, no technical background, or somebody who not even very familiar with Chrome browser. We have to stand from the user side in that level to make the experience more seamless.
On LinkedIn, you had this post where you've applied to 1,800 jobs, 50 interviews, and received 3 offers, and it's mentally draining. But what were some key takeaways that you found helpful to ace interviews?
If you're talking about acing interviews, I would say there's 2 things that you really focus on. One is the behavioral, and the second one is the technical. So for behavioral, you definitely want to prepare some stories. You definitely want to prepare a lot of stories that tailor to different type of situations. If you hear a similar questions, use that stories that you already prepared, right? In your stories, always trying to make sure your story is attaching to the ideas of why the company want to hire somebody.
You're right about the stories, especially for the behavioral question. They don't want you to answer it vaguely or in generalities or what I would do. They want you to think back to a situation that actually happened and, set up the environment. Who were the characters? Here's what we tried. Here's what happened. Here's what I learned. So you're right. And AI can't produce those personal stories for you.
Once you have prepared the story, let's say you have prepared 10 stories, 5 stories, you upload it either to the supporting documents, mostly inside the supporting documents, and AI will pull the most relevant stories based on the questions.
Oh, dirty.
Yeah. And the AI will rank your story based on the relevancy. It will give a score. For example, 60%, 30%, 20%.
Oh,
And
cool.
it will pick the most relevant one as your input.
You've thought of everything. You're an interview
Because
mad
we've been through
scientist.
this process myself too. So I understand, yeah, for behavioral, definitely need to prepare a lot of stories. Because back then, what I did was I have one side was the interview conference, right? The video conference. The other side was my prepared stories. And whenever the interviewer asked me, oh, for example, what is your biggest strength? I'll like scroll through it and find the stories and then I talk about it.
Can you share any inspiring stories of how LockedIn AIs help some of your users land their dream jobs?
Well, I can definitely talk about that, but I'm not going to disclose their name because for privacy concerns.
Of course.
So initially last year around October, this user was engaging frequently with in Discord. Discord is one of our community where we have customer support and also strategy discussions or just general questions. So this user found me and they submitted a ticket on the Discord asking me how I prepare my documents, making sure it answers everything. It was in an accountant role. He used it in all the interview. Actually, he used it in all his interview. But except the last interview, he said he didn't find it helpful because the last interview is just a natural conversation between like their CEO and him. They just have a natural conversation. There's no AI needed for that one. It's just like they want to see your character. That's it.
Right.
For the technical, he said it answered all questions. And even I told him is that, oh, make sure you have one question you answer it wrong. Otherwise, you kind of look kind of suspicious.
Oh, okay.
He did it anyway. He answered all of them. He crushed everybody that's applying for that job. And then he got it. But he also have some connections to it. So it's not like he just applied blindly online and find this company. No, so he actually has some family relationship with the employee that's working on it.
Okay, so it was a referral.
So that's how he got the interview. Otherwise, he said with his resume, he's not going to get that interview.
Interesting. Yeah, so you would think that someone might feel guilty to use the tool if it's a referral, like you've got an insider in there rooting for you. Oh, should I use like an AI to help me? But I think that you can quickly ditch those feelings. It's like, look, I got to land this job. I got to get these questions right. So, yeah. So aside from the interviews, where else do you envision your platform expanding? What are some other use cases that you have in the future?
So another use case that we're currently testing, which is the auto job applications.
Oh, okay.
Because there are already some code or scripts like open source like scripts. They can already auto apply jobs like on your behalf, but those are not user friendly. We just have to make it very user friendly for user to use it. So that's our next step. And also the desktop app I was telling you about that can completely hide everything. These two are our next milestones that we're already currently working on. In terms of the long-term goal, like for example, 3 to 5 years, we are visioning ourselves as, for example, the Glassdoor, where everybody can talk about their interview experiences.
Okay. Yeah. So you have a kind of a catalog of different companies and their interview styles and comments for each one then.
Yeah. And also, there's another step in the middle that we thought about it. We're also going to bring the recruiters who just want to hire the people who knows AI. We want to bring that side to here as well. And they actually request you to use LockedIn AI during the job interviews. That will make also the user feel more assured they are not feeling as guilty because those recruiters happen to be on our platform at the same time.
Interesting. Yeah. Do you have an affiliate link that I could use? Maybe I can toss it around.
Yes. If you go to the website, in the resources, there's a partner program.
Oh, okay. So you already have that.
Yeah, we already have
Thought of everything, man. Back to the other feature you were talking about, the auto apply feature. I've been following those for a while. I've got a bookmark in my Chrome tab where there's already like a dozen of those tools out there. And my biggest fear would be that the AI would auto apply for jobs that aren't really a great fit for me. And then In addition to that, it may update my resume with items that I don't actually have because it's trying to throw in keywords to increase my
for
chances of
ATS.
landing an interview. Yeah, so that'd be my biggest fear. How do you overcome those fears? Do you have to approve of the resume that's updated and approve of every job that's applied for, or does it all happen automatically?
Our position right now is we give user an option. So before they start this whole automation process, there'll be options for them. Okay, the AI is going to try to bust their ass off, trying to get any interviews you can. So it will include something that you probably don't have. There's an option for that. But there's also options. You just use what you have. But I want you to give us 3 options because everybody, when they apply in jobs, even if they're software engineer, there's like front end, back end, full stack, or cloud engineers, right? So you give 3 types of resume that we're not going to change. And those 3 types of resumes, we will see which job fit the most on that resumes. So there's options for users to choose, but we're not completely eliminating like the AI busting their ass off trying to get any jobs as it can for you.
Got it. So there's like an extreme mode where it's like, yeah, just go ham on it, whatever. It gives many interviews as I can. I'll figure it out. And then there's like, hey, be a little cautious. Let's limit it to these 3 resumes, these 3 to 5 job titles, and let's just stick to that. So I like that. I would feel a lot more comfortable going that route than just letting it run freely.
Yeah, if you let it run going ham and don't think about the consequences, then the user later they're gonna talk about it. Say, hey, I didn't have this in my resume, and in the interview they asked me about it. That's why it connected to the LockedIn AI, right? So if you're going ham mode, that you're just trying to get as many interviews as you can, you're just trying to pass as many interviews as you can, then most likely you have to use LockedIn AI to answer those type of questions because you don't have it in your resume.
Yeah, well, that's where it comes in handy, right? So even if you applied for a role, or if the AI applied for a role that you're underqualified for, well, now all of a sudden you are qualified because you've got an AI assistant helping you in the interview. So
yes.
So it's cool, man. I'm excited to see what happens to the platform this year. I hope you guys help hundreds of thousands of people land new jobs, man. That's got to be a good feeling.
Yeah, I mean, every time the users, especially in the initial stage where I also have to work as a customer service support, I do feel like whenever they got a job is definitely my biggest motivations.
Right.
Because how happy they are, then they are talking about it. Oh, I landed 2 jobs. One is 150K, one is like 180K. I was like, wow, like you're making banks from just like how little money you are putting in, right?
Yeah, that's the best part of my job too. I enjoy getting people like big pay raises and also that feeling where you help them land their dream job. It's like golf. Most of your shots are bad. You're getting told no all day, but when you hit a good shot, it just keeps you coming back.
Yeah, like it is the energy, right?
Yeah.
Like the positive energy like keeps, even you're tired, but those positive energies keeps you going forward and make you more locked in.
Oh yeah.
Initially, yeah, there will be some like downtime, you don't see much results from it, but you keep grinding until the moment that you see that start to see results and more results, you just keep going.
Very cool. So are you thinking about kind of seeking any funding for the product?
Yeah, that's a good question, because part of the reason that we part away in my previous company was because of the funding, and the investors, because they funded you, they kind of feel like they are your boss. Right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, some type of case they feel kind of your boss, so they want you to do something that sometimes is not best for the users. They're looking at the data, they're looking at the numbers. They just want to see the numbers going up. They don't care how you did it. They care about if the numbers going up because they also want to make money at the same time. So that's why we completely bootstrap right now. So we want to make sure we're at a stage that we're okay to accept fund, but they're not going to influence us that much.
Understood.
It's like you're going to ride with me. I don't want somebody to come in and tell me what to do, because this is my company, it's my product, right?
It's your
You
baby.
can give me advice, but don't tell me what to do, right? You can ride with me, you can hop on this ship, right? But don't tell me what to do.
Yeah, I agree. I would have the same mentality. Like, I'll take your money, but I'm not hiring a new boss. Like, I don't think so.
Exactly, but that's what a lot of funds they feel like.
Yeah, I can see why you'd want to try to avoid that. How do you feel about the future of software engineering careers just in general? Because there may come a time where there are a lot fewer developer jobs because there's so many AI assisted engineers. So do you feel like it's still a good career path for rookies to get into?
I would say it's definitely they can still go software engineers, but is where they're going to software engineers. So, for example, if you're going the traditional route, going to a school or even some boot camp, you just learn some code syntax or some data structures, build some small project that's not even full stack. Because right now you need full stack to actually become an actual software engineer. You cannot just like specialize in one language and then, oh, okay, that's not how it works. In the future, it will be those software engineers who understand all these AI agents, what their functionality is. So the AI agent right now, you see there's some Devin that helps you to do everything, right? But I saw a video recently, they're talking about like this guy used Devin and he cannot even push the code to the main branch. He was stuck in there for an hour. So I feel like the agent right now on the social media is definitely a little bit overhyped. But what agent is actually going to do in the next 5 years is there's small tasks for each agent. For example, if you're a software engineer, there are probably like 10 agents that you need to get familiar with. So one is for like a version control, right? And one is for the cloud server, right? And then one is for the backend, one is for the front end. So it's not like the one AI agent can handle everything. It will be bunch of them, and you are the master to manipulate those. And compared to the current software engineer, that engineer can probably produce like 2 times or 5 times more productivity than the current one. But you have to understand those, right? So, but if you're just somebody who only understands the syntax, some data structure like that, it will be very unlikely that company in the future will want to hire those.
Right. Yeah, I just feel like there'll be a need for a lot fewer developers. There'll be these like really talented 10x level developers that you really don't need that many of them at your company because they're all super augmented with all these different agents. I've never coded before. Like I don't know anything, but I was trying to make this little resume analyzer widget on my website, hrproof.com. It's for like resume reviews, resume writing, and job search coaching and things like that. It's a side business that I have. But I was trying to make this analyzer very simple. Upload your resume, cut and paste the job description, and kind of get some analysis on, hey, am I fit? What keywords am I missing? You know, is it a match? And I just went into Google AI Studio and I just gave it this prompt. Here's what I'm looking for. It immediately spit out HTML code, CSS code, and JavaScript code. I just cut and pasted it into the box of the GoDaddy website builder, that the only box they have that will allow you to, you know, upload custom code. And then voila, it was there, right? It was there.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, it told me, it's like, hey, look, if you really want this analysis to be accurate, like you need to create a connection to an API that's going to do this analysis, you know, using an AI agent somewhere else. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. Like, I don't know how to do that. Why can't you do that? And it's like, well, there's going to be limitations to all these agents. So that's why you have to piece them all together.
Yeah. You're the mastermind that orchestrate everything, right?
Right. We'll see where it goes, man. Well, hey, we're going to wrap up here. Last couple of questions, I guess. Are there any habits or routines that you've adopted that's helped you be successful in your career?
Number one rules, I would say for everybody is you got to lock in. You have to lock in. No matter what you do, you have to lock in. I was putting in, let's just say last week example, from Monday to Friday, I was putting in like 18 hours a day.
That's a grind, man. Yeah. That's for a startup, you kind of have to be that way, right?
Anything that you want to accomplish in life, you have to lock in. Like you have to really, really lock in. And I know somebody got burned out, right? But what I found is the burnout mostly is coming from you keep failing, and you never see any results from it. Yeah, of course, that energy is defeating. But if you do something and then keep making it work, that energy is so driving and will keep you pushing forward. Because if you can log in, you can become an expert in any field in 6 months. That's what they said, right? You can become an expert in any field in 6 months.
With AI. Well, do you have any questions for me or for a recruiter?
Yeah, so my questions will be, how do you guys view this type of software? I mean, I know that you are very pro AI, But let's say for some recruiter that's not pro AI, what can they do in this situation? Because this is inevitable, right? Like people are gonna use AIs in their job search, in the job application, in the interviews, every aspect, not just the company using AI, but also the candidates. How do they adapt to that?
Yeah, it's a sensitive subject, man, because, it reminds me of some horror stories that we found, especially when I was doing more like contract staffing. And you would use like corp to corp consultancies for Java developers, and they'd have an endless supply. Well, the person that you submitted and the person that interviewed would be different than the person who showed up for work, and it'd be a disaster. I haven't had that happen to me but one time in my 13-year career, but I hear about it happening from some of my peers. So the sneaky cheating switcheroos like that, we're just so afraid of that stuff. We want to have authentically talented candidates who are who they say they are. So that's where the resistance comes from to having these AI assisted interviews, because it does kind of feel like you're sending a candidate, they use the platform. I'm rooting for them to get the job. But at the same time, it's like, wow, I wonder if the hiring manager finds out that all their answers were AI assistant. Will that look bad on me? So I think we're going to go through a period of time where there's just some resistance to it before it's like, all right, well, everything else is AI assisted. Might as well be interviews too. But as far as like AI impacting recruiting, I'm looking for ways to leverage AI. I'd love it if Recruiter Flow would implement some type of candidate relevancy scoring and an AI agent that would go into my database and find relevant candidates for the job that I just uploaded and be like, hey, these are top 10 people in your database. Why don't you call these people, right? So there's some low hanging fruit that I'd like to see. Now, on the other side, a lot of companies are considering using AI to conduct their interviews, their phone screens. It sounds nice up front, but what I find is that you basically will lose half of your applicant pool because they'll choose not to participate in the AI interview or the video interview, whatever kind of interview that you put in front of them that's not a person-to-person interview. You'll just lose half the participants because they're not going to participate. You'll still get better results, just human-to-human interviews. I've tried those tools and abandoned them.
Yeah. I mean, that part, I definitely agree. I definitely feel like if it's an own interview, if it's a human-to-human conversation, that you have to have humans in it because it's a human-to-human conversation. And all these AI tools are just make your life easier, just make the process easier for you. It shouldn't be replacing you, right? You see Salesforce recently, they say, oh, we're not going to hire, I think it's a hoax, but they said, the CEO says, we're not going to hire any software engineers
I saw that.
starting 2025 because we have to sell all these sales agents now. But they hire a bunch of salespeople to sell it. Who is making all these agents? They need software engineers to make all these agents. So
Yeah,
I know that definitely is a hoax, but right now a lot of companies are trying to push. They want to present themselves, oh, we're so efficient. Our AI is so good. We don't need people anymore. But that's just not right. Like, you should use AI to help people to upskill, as you said, right? Use AI to help you to upskills rather than being replaced.
Right. Yeah, 10x your human capabilities, your production, right? That's what it should be used for, not to replace. But it's still, if all your employees are capable of 10 times the production, then you just need fewer employees. That's the bottom line.
But that will make a lot of people starting to realize, hey, I can start my own.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
That would be the future. Just more and more people feel like, okay, I can start my own because I don't need that much capital to start a business now.
Yeah, I just did a demo this morning of a platform called Sales AI. Really impressed by it. I don't know if you know the TikTok influencer. Her name's McKenna Johnson, who discovered the tool and decided to go visit their office. And I don't know, she convinced them. She sold herself into a job there. And now she's an influencer and a salesperson at Sales AI. It's a really cool story. But I did a demo and it's very tempting, right? They can create all these custom agents and they can help you with doing BD or taking inbound calls, or you have unlimited agents, and these agents, they can do 40,000 calls a minute or something like that. It's crazy, right? But my only concern is that, man, if I unleash all these AI cold callers for Hyperdrive recruiting, trying to generate business and meetings, will that just kind of ruin my brand? And then if every other staffing agency does this for business development, there's like 400,000 recruiters in the US. If we all have AI agents blowing up the phones on our behalf, 40,000 calls every minute, people are
Who's
just
gonna
going to
pick up the
turn their
phone?
phones off, man. They're
Yeah,
never going to
who's
answer their
gonna?
phone again.
You know what? Because there's so many this type of things like agent calling that is gonna happen in the future. Not now, but when it's happening in the future, it's gonna have some software that's like, okay, one click, you are blocking all the AI agent calls, only accepting the human call. All those like telephone companies, they're gonna say, okay, if you have an AI agent calling, you gotta label yourself as an AI agent. Then you're gonna have a software that's like blocking all the calls from that.
Probably, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me, but that's going to take a while, right?
Yeah.
That's going to have to,
Yeah, those are taking a while because regulation always like a few years behind
right.
the actual implementation.
So we got some time. We can leverage it, right? Be the first in, take advantage of it. And, if I can get 30 or 40 clients from it and then turn it off, I'll be good. I'll be good. I don't need it anymore.
Absolutely. But when you try the demo, like, does it feel very authentic to you?
It does. Yeah. And it's very customizable. And you can go in and program responses or, outlines to responses for every objection that you get. It's just super customizable. You can adjust the tone. Is it laid back? Is it, a little bit more pushy? So it's pretty cool, man. I'm very tempted. I got to make a decision on it.
That's awesome. Do they offer you a free trial? I think you can definitely try it out.
No free
Definitely
trial.
try it out. No free trial.
They're not as friendly as LockedIn AI. No free trial. You got to sign up. It's like a 12
because that's
month
2B.
subscription.
2B businesses usually they don't offer free trials. Well, I mean, it will be definitely beneficial to you.
Yeah, I need something to try to leverage more than I can do just by myself, right? Because even if I commit 90 minutes or 3 hours to business development every day, it still just doesn't feel like enough because the majority of it is just no's, right? Just stiff arm. Companies don't want to pay fees right now because candidates are plentiful. So you just get a barrage of stiff arming. But every once in a while, you break through and you find one, you get a deal, but there's limited opportunities. Not every company is hiring like gangbusters. So historically, you might land a new client and then there's like 10 to 12 job orders. If you can just get your foot in the door and now we've got an unlimited amount, basically, well, I'm not finding that to be the case. I'm having to, just stumble around and get one deal here. They don't have anything else. One deal here. They don't have anything else. So it's just a challenging market for definitely technical recruiters, but for all recruiters and, just everybody looking for a job, it's just tough times. I hope it gets better this year.
So where do you see yourself, for example, like Hyperdrive recruitings in like, let's say 3 to 5 years? Like, what's your big next step?
Yeah, good question. I would really enjoy it if, it was a small boutique firm with about 12 producers in it, right? Maybe 5 or 6 salespeople, the rest recruiters and an admin or like a contractor care type person, maybe somebody that helps with marketing. I could envision that definitely in 5 years, right? That would be the goal. And I'd also like to create something that I can have my kids take over and participate in one day. We'll see. I don't know. The long-term outlook, AI takes over all parts of recruiting. We'll see, man. It is a fear of mine that eventually, if you look out 5 years from now, there might not be a need for any recruiters because AI does it all. So that thought's definitely crossed my mind. I hope not, but it's a fear.
Yeah. But if you're the agent, if you're the mastermind behind those agent recruitings, right, then you still have it, right? It's about, I feel like there's never going to be a time there where human is not needed because even there's AI agent, you can be top of the AI agent that manipulate. If there's even higher level AI agent, you can be even higher levels, right? So there's a never ending cycle. You can always be sitting on top of them, right? Just like controlling, using those AI agents. That's my view when I'm looking at this trend. There's going to be a tough time, as you said as well. There's going to be a tough time. Like somebody is going to be replaced, that's for sure. But it's about how to adapt. Like who's going to adapt and then see okay, there's no new opportunities out there.
There may only be 2 jobs eventually, aside from manual labor, right? I think those are a lot safer. But for computer workers, you're basically going to have the AI orchestrator, right? The idea person, the prompter, and then you'll have the AI administrator, like the exception handler.
Yes.
And
yes,
it's
you,
only
you
two
still need
jobs.
to fact check what they're doing if they're doing something wrong.
Right. Yeah. So it's either the AI creator or the AI admin. Pick one. So we'll see, man. But hey, fun conversation.
Mhm.
And Caesar, you've been a great guest, and I can't wait to edit this up and get it out there. I'll send you a link when it's done. And yeah,
Absolutely,
man, appreciate you coming on. Thanks for being a guest.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm really appreciated that you invite me, and I'm very grateful about that. And you are a very great host.
Oh, thank you.
Okay,
I
I cannot
appreciate
wait
that.
till we have another conversation like this.
Yeah, we should do it again. Yeah, let's we'll check back in 6
Yes.
months or so and see where things stand.
All right. Absolutely.
All right, sir. Well, have a great rest of your day. I'll be in touch with you, man. Have a good one.
You too. Bye-bye.
Cheers.